Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. It's time for my favorite video of the week. It's where I go over trade targets for you guys. Obviously, I think that trading is a big part of fantasy football, and I think it's one of the more fun things that you can do in fantasy football as well. It's really critical to make sure you're making sure that you gather all the information every single week, make educated decisions, and I find that trades are incredibly fun. And that if you make a lot of them and do your due diligence and make sure that you're making good decisions each time, overall you're going to generally help your team as long as you feel like you can win at least half of your trades. So, like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's my favorite video to make every week. I'm actively acting on all of the advice I give here, so I'm not just saying things. I'm actively the guy in most leagues that maybe some of you guys are annoyed with that's trying to make trades all the time. It's a lot of fun for me. This is my favorite video to make every week. I'm going to split it into two videos every single week. So this video, I will be going over the players that I'm looking to trade for this week. And then in the second part of the video, I will be going over players that I'm looking to trade away or at least capitalize on a potential sell high opportunity there. So a lot of fun with these videos. I think there's going to be about 9 players on the list of sell or buy lows, 5 or 6 guys on the sell high list. So if you guys have any guys that I don't mention, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there. If you guys have specific trade requests or questions, let me know in the comments below as well. I love getting input on what kind of trades you guys are making. It's super fun to see that. Yeah, I really love this stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and let's dig into it. Starting things off with a guy that I'm actively targeting pretty much everywhere right now, and a guy that I actually just traded for in my big money league about an hour before making this video. So again, like I said, I'm acting on the advice I'm giving you guys here. Amarian Hampton stands out to me as a fantastic buy opportunity right now. Didn't have a fantastic fantasy game, obviously. He played arguably the best run defense in the NFL against the Kansas City Chiefs this last week, but the usage was elite. We saw him play 80% of the snaps. You saw Najee get next to no work. He had 1 carry, 1 target. Amarian Hampton is the feature back in this offense. And again, I think that we'll see Najee get worked in a little bit more. It would have been unrealistic to expect Najee to play his full allotment of snaps, just having not really practiced over the course of the entire offseason. But this is Amarian Hampton's backfield. This Chargers offense also looks incredible. We know there's going to be a ton of scoring opportunity associated with this offense. That's fantastic, right? You've got an elite, incredibly explosive running back on an offense that's going to score a lot with a head coach that really wants to run the ball, and on a team that should be winning a lot of games. We just saw them beat the reigning AFC champions. They're going to be leading in a lot of games, so you're going to have plenty of opportunity for Amarian Hampton to salt the game away when they're playing lesser opponents. And like I said, we know the talent's there. He's a first-round draft pick for a reason. Incredibly explosive. Reminds me a lot of Jonathan Taylor, actually. Not just because he's number 28, but just a really fantastic player, a guy that I'm super stoked about. And I think that he really can be a top 10 running back this season, and there's just no way he costs you that right now. I personally just made a trade for him. Like I mentioned, I traded T. Higgins and Javonte Williams for him. I was a little too deep at receiver, sort of went thin at running back. I've got basically Chase Brown and then nobody else on that roster. I feel a lot better about that now that I've got Amarian Hampton to go with him. So I think it's going to be a really great guy to have on your roster. I think this is probably the cheapest he's going to be, and I would definitely try and target him right now. Next up, we've got potentially an obvious one here, but Brian Thomas Jr. stands out as a pretty clear buy low right now. Brian Thomas obviously played in a really weird game this last week. You had the Panthers and the Jaguars in what was supposed to kind of be a pretty fun game, but ultimately the Panthers just weren't able to push the Jaguars at all. So the Jaguars really just got to lean on their running game and just sort of, shell up. They didn't have to do a whole lot on offense. You also had a 2-hour thunderstorm / weather delay that really just sort of seemed to get into the groove of all these offenses. We've seen that a couple times this last week with the Dallas Eagles game, this game, and then with the Denver game as well. So just a really weird game in general. We still know that Brian Thomas Jr. is an incredibly elite player, and I actually think the Jags are going to end up being really good on offense. I know we didn't see a whole lot this last week, but I thought there were some positives in there as well. They also recently traded Tank Bigsby. That's not a huge deal, but Bigsby was like their one running back who didn't really profile as a pass catcher at all. Like Tootin and Etienne are both going to be at least somewhat valuable assets in the passing game. So it just makes them even more pass happy of a team. You're going to see a team that's going to air the ball out a lot. Did have 7 targets. Like I know he only had 1 catch, but 7 targets, not all that bad. Still scored a touchdown. We know he's an incredible athlete. He can be great. And I think he's still a top 10 wide receiver. And I think a lot of people are going to freak out after only having 1 catch. So he's definitely worth at least seeing what the price tag is on right now. This one's going to be pretty quick, but Calvin Ridley stands out as a buy low opportunity for me here as well. Predictably bad game here for Calvin Ridley. You've obviously got a really brutal matchup with Patrick Surtain. It makes it really difficult to expect high-level production out of a guy like Ridley, or really any wide receiver one facing the Broncos, especially in week 1 with a rookie quarterback under center for the first time. I actually liked what we saw out of Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward's going to be a good player in the NFL. did give this offense, he had some nice throws. Calvin Ridley had a couple bad drops as well. This is a clear wide receiver one for this offense on an offense. I think it's going to be a lot better than it was last season. There's no way you were starting Calvin Ridley this week, obviously. It was just a horrendous matchup. I think he's still going to be a reliable, low-end wide receiver 2 the rest of the way, and he's probably basically free right now. People are going to panic week 1. When that week doesn't work out, people sort of freak out. Ridley was sort of like a fringe player for a lot of guys anyway, so I think Ridley's a great buy low right now. George Pickens, another guy that kind of had a predictably bad week 1. He received basically a full shadow by Quinyon Mitchell for the Philadelphia Eagles this last week. Their best corner. They had basically have CeeDee Lamb operate out of the slot the whole game, so they sort of were able to move him away from the elite coverage that Mitchell offered. Made Pickens really just with a tough matchup there. Still had a couple of nice plays. Drew a really long pass interference penalty as well. He was involved in the game, and actually Dak Prescott looked fantastic. This Cowboys offense looked a lot better than I think people would have expected it to against a really good Eagles defense. And their defense didn't play well, right? So this is going to be a team in Dallas that's going to have to score to win games, and Pickens is going to be a really big part of that. Again, horrendous matchup last week. I have Pickens in several leagues. I didn't start him at all last week. It was a predictable bad game. I'm not by any means less optimistic about Pickens now than I was but going into week 1, and I think there's a great chance he bounces back right this week. They get to play the Giants this week. Not going to be a very difficult matchup there. There's no elite corner or safety on this defense there in New York. Pickens should have a much better game this week. I think he's going to be boom or bust in general, right? You're going to need the big play to come through for him to be great each week, but I think he's going to do it pretty often. So I like Pickens quite a bit. I think he's a really great wide receiver 3 or flex play for us every single week, and he's probably going to be a lot cheaper now than he was at least a week ago. Not necessarily a buy low here, but Tyler Warren, I'm just going to keep banging the drum. You need to trade for this dude. We saw it. He's that dude. He is going to be the number 1 weapon for this passing game in Indianapolis, and they're not going to get to play the Dolphins every single week, but he's a beast. Honestly, I think that takes away from everyone else more than Warren. They manufactured touches for Warren like crazy. He looked phenomenal every time he was given the ball. And the great news is he didn't score a touchdown. So had he gotten in the end zone, everyone would right away be right in alignment with me. I think Tyler Warren is probably the tight end 3 in rest of season rankings. You got McBride and Bowers above him. I would take him over Kittle now with Kittle going on IR. Hawkinson wasn't great. Laporta was fine. Kelsey looked horrendous. Mark Andrews was non-existent. And Njoku might be a backup. Everett Ingram got hurt. Tyler Warren is the clear tight end 3 rest of season. I think you can still buy him for a little bit cheaper than that. I don't think people realize what they have yet. Warren's going to be fantastic. Now is probably your last chance to trade for him because when he goes out and does it again this week, people are going to be right there. They'll know, and they should know already. But if they don't, go trade for Tyler Warren. Next up, we got RJ Harvey here. For whatever reason, head coaches in the NFL are kind of dumb sometimes. They like to play lesser players just because they're more experienced. We saw that with Tyler Bidet getting far more work in a Broncos offense in 2025 than he should be. And it wasn't good, right? It obviously didn't work for the Broncos. The Broncos had a horrendous showing on offense. Really weren't able to get anything going. They were lucky to get out of a home game against the Titans with a win. And RJ Harvey looked phenomenal. He had 7 carries for 70 yards, I believe, broke off a 50-yard run where he just looked fantastic. He's the most explosive player in this backfield already. J.K. Dobbins is not going to go away, but Harvey's awesome. He's going to be a really good player for this Broncos offense, and I think there's going to be plenty of fantasy value to go around between those two. Tyler Bidet probably not going to play a whole lot going forward the rest of the season. I think people are going to see the usage in week 1 and be a little bit disappointed. I'm not. I think he's just earned more snaps with the explosiveness that he showed on Sunday, and you're going to see him get more and more involved over the course of the season. It happens every single year. You have these rookie running backs that are talented come in, have low usage rates early in the year. People freak out, and then over the course of the year, these guys get more and more involved, and they end up being really valuable for fantasy, and RJ Harvey is going to be a classic example of that. So by now, before he ends up being a solid running back 2 every single week with obviously a lot of upside because of the offense and the explosiveness. And sticking with the trend there, TreVeyon Henderson is going to be the final trade target for me this week. Also, clearly the best running back in New England here. You saw him not get nearly the work, the usage that you would expect him to just because of how talented he is. He only played 35% of the snaps this week. You don't like to see that, but the usage rate while he was on the field was fantastic. He still saw 6 targets, caught all 6 of them, was by far the most efficient runner on the team as well. It's only a matter of time before they realize that this is not a fantastic offense in New England. They need TreVeyon Henderson to touch the ball as much as possible. You had Antonio Gibson even get some work, sort of a fun blast from the past there, but Gibson should not be getting a lot of work in 2025. He's going to trend towards probably about a 50% target share. You're not going to see him probably get any higher than like 65%. You might see a flip where he's 65 and Ramondre is at 35 by the end of the year relative to what you had on the inverse in week 1 here. But again, you're not going to see him be a full-time player or like an 80% snap share guy because they like Ramondre. Henderson is not a huge guy either. I don't think they want to give him 25 or 30 touches every single week, but I think he's going to be phenomenal on the touches he's given. He's going to see a significantly larger role over the next several weeks, and he gets to play Miami this week. And if what we saw last week out of Miami is any indication, they're probably going to put up a lot of points in this game. TreVeyon Henderson could easily go out there and blow up in week 2, and that buy window just might slam shut. And the final buy low for me this week is going to be TreVeyon Henderson. He's just clearly the best running back in New England right now. Obviously, didn't get the usage that you would have wanted out of him in week 1. You saw him with only a 35% snap share. You got Ramondre at 65. Antonio Gibson sprinkled in for about a 10% snap share as well. That's not going to happen over the entire course of the season. You're going to see Gibson phase out entirely, and TreVeyon should sort of flip Ramondre in terms of the usage over the course of the year. Even with only those 35% of snaps, you still saw him catch 6 passes. He's going to be incredibly important to this passing game and this offense in general. They're going to hyper-target him and just use him because he's the most explosive player on the offense, right? Like, it makes a lot of sense to get him incredibly involved. You want your best offensive asset touching the ball, and this is a team that just lost week 1 to not a fantastic Raiders team, at least in my projection going forward the rest of the year. Not that the Raiders are bad, but like if they had aspirations of being a playoff team in New England, which a lot of people sort of had them on the fringe there, you've got to win home games against the Raiders. They did not do that. They need to get better quickly if they want to do that, and playing TreVeyon Henderson more is the way to do that. He gets a matchup this week against Miami, who, if what we saw in week 1 is any indication, they are going to be a team that we want to target every single week. I would not be shocked at all if we saw Henderson go out there and blow up in week 2, and then that buy window just gets slammed shut. So Henderson's definitely a target for me. I'm not shaken or worried or concerned by anything that we saw in week 1. I'm just excited to see him get more and more involved, and I think the usage and production is only going to trend up from here. So that'll do it for the guys that I'm looking to trade for this week. Up next, I'll be going over some players that I'd be looking to sell high on this week as well. So stay tuned for that video. Probably going to come out on the same day, so just enjoy watching 2 videos today. On top of that, if you guys have any specific trade questions or any players I didn't mention, let me know in the comments below. I love seeing what sort of trades you guys are working on. Again, like I say all the time, trading is one of my favorite things to do during the fantasy football season, other than obviously watching football on Sundays. It's going to be a lot of fun making all these trades. I think it's the best way to make your team better over the course of the year. Keeps everybody in the league active. It's a lot of fun when you're in leagues that are doing a lot of trading as well. I really enjoy it. I'm definitely going to be continuing to put these out, and make sure you guys stay tuned because I think in general I do a pretty good job with them, and hopefully it helps you guys throughout the course of the year as well. So lots of videos coming out as well. We've got the sell highs up next, obviously, and then we'll go and just get into some starts and sits. 3-4 videos a week every single week over the course of the entire regular season. Make sure you guys are subscribed so that you don't miss it. And then, of course, if you made it this far in the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps me out quite a bit and just lets me know that you appreciate what we're doing here. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.